No, we'll get started. Oh, already a minute. All right. We're just going to get started. Hopefully, folks will join us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today for another training session. We had quite a bit of interest, it looked like. And the topic today is going to be actions and task automation. We're going to go into some details about each of those objects, how they're the same, and some of the opportunities to automate each one of those objects. So really quickly, for those that may or may not know who I am, I'm Rachel Zeman, the founder and CEO. I also have Ashley Montgomery here, who's on our service team. Ian Legler, who's going to help me out with some of the automation today, who's our Salesforce admin, help support the onboarding of new clients, and Jessica Smith, who's on our marketing team. So let's get started. I apologize if my computer is running slow today. We're going to try this. Okay. So I'm going to go through kind of the overview of what we're going to talk about today, and then we'll dive in and kind of show and tell kind of the features. We have lots and lots of questions that come in about our actions object versus tasks. So want to go through kind of the basics of what is the difference in the definition. Just high level, the actions object is a Benelinx custom object, so it's not part of the standard Salesforce features. It's something that we built to help manage and track the customer service requests that come in, for record keeping. So it creates a record related to our account, and it's tracking kind of categories of requests, such as eligibility, claims, billing, compliance. We have some clients that add to those record types, like request ID cards, etc. Really important for record keeping. I would say the majority of agencies currently in the market, probably this is the hardest, most difficult place to track data. It's probably the least amount of attention given as well, and probably the highest level of burden, right? When we think about running an agency and the revenue we're receiving from our clients, we know, and the clients all know, that we're receiving revenue, which is our commissions, right, for running through our renewal cycle every year. So we're going out to market, we're making recommendations on what products we're recommending based on their price points, based on their markets they're in, etc. But we're also getting paid recurring revenue throughout the year. And I know that as an agency and a former agency owner, there's a tremendous amount of customer service that you guys are doing. What does that mean? We all know it's the day-to-day emails that are coming in from the HR person. They may be coming in from the carriers with billing issues. They may be coming in actually from the employees, and everybody probably can relate, where we've all had those employees sitting at the pharmacy or standing in line at the pharmacy to pick up a prescription, 2 days after the first year. Which is what we don't want them to do. Or going to the dentist, right? On the 2nd of January, which we'd all hope that you would not schedule that, but we get those phone calls, right? We get billing issues that we're trying to reconcile, etc. So tremendous amount of work that's being done, but not tracked very well. So this part of the Benelinx system is really critical for us to start to document, track, manage, and use the analytics for us to have really good conversations and really tough conversations, sometimes with the carriers, but also with our clients. So this is a really important component of what we're doing inside our agency management system. Yes, we have our workflows, our renewal automation, which we will have training on that at some point. But this also is a really important piece of tracking, right? We need to be able to document what's coming in, what kind of service requests are we managing, what kind of requests are they, how much time is it taking for us to, follow up on those claims, audit those bills, etc. So that is why we created the custom object within Benelinx, so that we could use our object to manage and track all those requests that are coming into your office. Tasks. So this is a Salesforce standard object. This is different than an action. So an action was built by us to help track specifically customer service requests from our industry. Tasks are part of the CRM component that you're getting from Salesforce. So whether you buy Salesforce directly or you buy it through us, you're getting a bunch of CRM components, and this is one of them. It's a standard Salesforce object, right? So this is not an object that Benelinx created. We do our best to help manage it, answer questions, and it's there. So we have some limitations on what we can and can't do with it. But long story short, a task is like is a to-do, right? It's a reminder. I can set up my tasks, follow up next week, on a request that came in. And so we can set up as many as we would like or as few as we like, but it's a really great feature for us to be able to use to track kind of what are the responsibilities I have as a user on an hourly, daily, weekly, monthly, reoccurring even schedule. And I'll show you here in a minute, but it's part of the activities area that lives inside of Salesforce. This is kind of the default CRM capabilities. Within this activity, which is what Salesforce calls it, this is where we can log our emails, we can log a call, phone calls that come in. We can create a new task, this is what we're talking about today, or a new event. An event is like a calendar invite, okay? And that obviously tasks are part of that, that grouping of activities. Okay. So it's really important to differentiate between the two. I know that other people coming off of maybe a different agency management system in the past, get confused with activities, that definition, that's a Salesforce definition, tasks live under that. Our object is called actions. And in legacy systems or older systems, really the actions equivalent for Benelinx is what you're used to called activities in kind of the older systems. So we're kind of flipping the switch here on kind of definition, where activities are going to be part of the tasks, or tasks are part of activities, and actions is going to be our customer service requests. Other systems call these activities. So talk a little bit about what a task is, right? So they're to-do reminders. They have due dates. That's one of the big benefits, right? I can set up a task and say, hey, next week, tomorrow, 5 o'clock, send me a reminder so I don't forget to follow up on ABC. Claim, I need to make sure the bill came in, or if I audit, do I have to call someone back, etc. I can set status priority. I can add comments, okay? What are these records related to? They can be related to any record in the system. This is one of the big advantages. And you'll see that you can build tasks everywhere. Within Benelinx, and the way that we organize your Benelinx Salesforce system, we have what we call in the corner or the side area is like, we call it the activity center. I do. And so I can build a task anywhere. I could be inside an account record. I can be in a policy record. I could be in an action record. And I can create a follow-up task related to that record. So there's no limitation on where I can build it. I'll also show you that, okay, I built tasks all over the system. How do I see them all in one place? And it's going to be our navigation bar, and I'll show you how you can see all your tasks. But the nice thing is I can relate it to any record anywhere in the system, which is nice. Now, by default, Salesforce does try to have us set it up and associate with our accounts and contacts, but it's not limited to just accounts and contacts. Ownership. So there's only a one-to-one relationship with all records in Salesforce. So the ownership is one. So if I created the record, right, the task, I'm going to own it by default. I'm a user. I logged into Salesforce. I can transfer the ownership to somebody else, and I can actually initiate an email to go to that person, but it's still just like anywhere else in Salesforce, it's a one-to-one relationship. I can't have multiple owners to those tasks. And what can I attach to a task? Okay, important is I can attach files, which is a drag and drop document, right? PDF, Word, Excel, etc. And I can also attach supplemental notes. So if I have a lot of details about that task and I want to add additional notes, I can do that as well. So what is some of the automation with tasks? Okay, again, this is our standard Salesforce feature. So I can set reminders for myself, right? I want to be reminded, maybe the due date of the task is next Thursday, but I want to set a reminder for myself next Monday, right? I can do that. I can create follow-up tasks, click of a button, I'll show you that. I can also create reoccurring series of tasks. That means, the third Thursday of every month, I need to have a reminder to myself that I need to reach out to clients about a compliance update, for example. One thing to remember, and I'll remind you when we go into the details when I show and tell, the reoccurring series of tasks has to be created upon the initial task being created. Can't go in and edit it later. So that's a good and a bad Salesforce limitation, but we have to create that series when I create that initial task. Okay. Potential for custom automation. So some of our clients in some situations, we have tasks created based on flows. And his team are really great about building flows. They're part of the renewal checklist. That can be part of onboarding new clients. It can be part of our actions where we can have time-based where, okay, I want to send a reminder, create a task if something hasn't been completed by a certain time. If I haven't completed, let's say, my renewal checklist, right? It might send a reminder and create a task. It can also be action-based. I click a box, I check a box, I update a field, and that can initiate some of the custom automation where it'll create a task and send you a notice. And then we can decide who is it's assigned to, right? So it's not just related to us. We can assign it to other team members, right? So it's really helpful to be able to see, hey, we've got the standard automation, and then we have our own custom automation. Some of that is inherently built into the Benelinx system, and some can be built in kind of as needed. The last automation I want to make sure I highlight, we talked about this in prior training, but we also have the integration with our Outlook and Gmail, and I can create tasks right from my email system. So I'm in the middle of sending emails out to and from, oh, gee, I need to follow up. I can create a task right there, and I'll show you that as a reminder again. So really important to understand kind of where we're at. What is a task, and then what are some of the automation standard, custom, and then part of our integration. Now let's pivot over to actions, which again, this is a Benelinx object. This is where we're creating and documenting the requests that come in. Okay. Why, and I'll talk a little bit about why I would use one or the other. But overall, when a client calls in, this is customer service related. This is a request that comes in whatever form, phone, email, etc., where I'm going to document that request. Sally has an ER claim that she doesn't think is paid correctly. Okay. We're going to be able to create a record and again, set the status priority. It's going to track the time that record was created until the time that record was closed. So we've got some now time tracking. That's a newer feature. What is this record related to? Anything and everything in Salesforce always gets related back to the account. Okay. So when I create a standard record, everything always goes back to my account by default. I can also add in context or policies if I would like to. So I can supplement that by adding additional relationships, but always we're going to relate it back to our account. So I know that when Sally called in and it's about an ER claim, she works at Bob's Bakery, right? I'm going to be able to aggregate that data, see who, how many service requests came in or action requests. Okay. Again, just like any record in Salesforce, it's a one-to-one ownership. If I create it, I own it, right? I can transfer that ownership. I'll show you where we can flip that over. And then the same thing with our tasks. We can actually initiate an email to go out to the person that you're reassigning it to. Here's a big difference between tasks and actions, okay? First one is tasks. I can assign it anywhere. I can create the record and relate it to any record I want. Actions is our documentation of our specific records coming in, requests coming in, and they have to be related to our account primarily. The other big difference is that you cannot attach emails to tasks. Some people are like, wow, Rachel doesn't like tasks. I have reasons why, I consider them supplemental, and I'll explain that in a little bit. If there's a preference, always create actions over tasks, and people wonder why. This is one of the big reasons. I cannot push copies of emails that I'm talking and corresponding with my clients to my tasks. Okay, I can only attach those emails to my record, my action record. It's one of the big reasons why we have this whole area of the system that we built, and we want to be able to document the request, but also push those really important emails directly into that record. In addition, I can also attach files and notes. I can drag and drop any of the documents. If I'm sending a client maybe a PDF document of the plan summary, maybe they have a disclosure form that we need them to complete, and any supplemental notes. So pros and cons of using one or the other. To me, they're very distinct. Tasks are going to be my to-do list across everything I do within Benelinx. Everything I do, which includes, but not limited to, the requests that come in. Okay. And that's our actions. Actions are isolating just the requests that come in. Claims, billing, anything outside of our renewal, right, is kind of what I standardly recommend. Okay. Actions automation. So we're going to go through the actions automation. We have the opportunity to turn on a ticketing system. So this part of Benelinx been around for about 5 years now, a little bit more. And so This part of Benelinx has always been a very important piece of the Benelinx managed package, but it has not been highly utilized. Why are people, we're selling Benelinx to our agency partners, and they're just simply not creating the records. They're not creating the claim record, the billing request. Gee, I changed office locations, update all of my, information with all the carriers. They weren't creating them. Why? Because it's another thing to create, right? It's one of those things that we're really pushing, we're really working hard at Benelinx to have the system work for us as much as you have to work in the system. We want it to help as much to lower the burden of the manual entry. And so while everybody got really excited about this area of Benelinx, it wasn't being used. Okay. Why is this so important, right? It's so important because we have to be able to track what we're doing for our clients. Anecdotally, we know how much work we're doing for each client, kind of, sort of. Creating the record of the action allows us to be able to actually show it, right? And I'm going to show you at the end here, how would we roll that up into a report and dashboard called a stewardship report? It's the "what have you done for me lately" report, right? This is the report that is so critically important. Everybody knows that you guys are running through your renewal process and doing all that work, building booklets, proposals, etc. You got 9 months out of the year after that, you're still, burning the midnight oil, but you're not tracking it, right? And so because this was so manual before, people were not using this part of our system. And then you can't create stewardship reports. You can't tell a client, "Oh, gee, here's 20% of what we did for you." It has to be close to 100, right? If not 100. And so we automated the process. So we automated this process. So if you would like, then we can set up and connect an email that you set up or you already have at your agency, support at, VIP at, concierge at, whatever you want it to be. If you don't already have one, create one. Go to your Gmail, Outlook people, IT, get one, create. We can then connect that email to Salesforce. So when your clients send an email to support at, right, directly to that email address, so you have to promote it, you have to announce it, you have to do all the work, right, to get it working and get people using it, which is a process, okay? But then they send an email, "I've got an issue," right? "I've got billing question. I've got a problem with my, my prescription." They can send an email directly to that email, and now it bypasses you guys creating the record, okay? It does not take the service component, the high service, out of what you guys do at all. All it does is eliminate you from having to create the record, because what happens with the automation now, client sends an email directly to the email address, support at, automatically creates the action record inside of Benelinx, sends back an email, and you can have the messaging any way you want. It says, "Thanks so much for reaching out. We're going to get back to you within a XYZ period of time. And by the way, here is your ticket or your action number." They've got a reference number now. They get an automatic response and they get a reference number. People love that, okay? They get acknowledgement, they get a response, and they get a tracking number, okay? Internally, then your team members then can also get an email saying, "Hey, guess what? You just got an email from Sally," right? Because we're not going to sit there and manage and monitor and check, the system to see if something came in. It's going to also internally send one of your people that notification, okay? Takes us from 20% utilization on actions to 90%, okay? Pushback we get, "Oh, we do way too much hands-on customer service. Our clients would never like that." My argument is, I think what your clients really want, I think they want accuracy, and I think they want timely responses. I know that they love your account manager, Tommy, or Sally, or Betsy, or whatever her name is, right? However, I think more importantly than sending an email directly to an account manager, I think what they're really wanting is timely response and accurate information, right? And it doesn't mean that your account manager isn't going to respond. It's just taking out, again, the record creation. Record gets created and Tommy gets notified. Tommy now is going to follow up with you and get all that resolved. So it's not removing the human experience and that really personal touch from an agency. It's just creating the automation, tracking, guaranteeing that you've got it documented, improves the quality of your response, the accuracy, and the timeliness. So that's my little sales pitch for the moment. But I think it's really important to consider in how we're moving in that direction. Agencies need to be moving into the automation, the volume, the tracking, also looking at the information to make sure that we're, small groups, large groups, medium-sized groups are profitable, right? It's a small margin industry. So we can track that when we start creating records. In addition, we've got additional enhanced automation that goes along with it where we can do some predictive assignments. So over time, Sally sends an email over and over again. We know it's attached to Bob's Bakery, and we can actually reach out to Ian and automatically know who internally within my agency should be notified. And more of that probably coming in the next year or two. And again, I can manually also, part of the automation is I can actually manually create those records. So I understand transitioning your clients from emailing a person directly to emailing a support email is a process. We still have about 50% of our clients that do that and 50% don't, but we can flip those emails into the support at. We can also create those action records ourselves right within the Outlook integration or Gmail integration, which I'll show you. So we got a couple options, right? We can create them all that we want directly into Benelinx. That's not the automation. We can create a ticketing system. We can also just go in when we get the email, write in Outlook, and create the record from there. So we don't have to go into Benelinx and do that. Why do we do all this, right? Because we need to provide our clients with the information they're looking for. We need to verify and validate and justify, that time outside of renewal season. And we need to back up all the work we do, right? And how do we do that? If we create the record, I preach this all the time. If you create the record, now we can report on it, right? In the form of reporting and dashboards, stewardship report, which I'll show you. Okay. All that information is really powerful. We can see when things are when we see a client that has a high volume of customer service, that might initiate us to make a change. Maybe we moved them to a carrier and they're having a lot of problems. That'll then help us make better decisions to say, hey, you know what? This was not a good decision. Let's make a change next year. We can have those hard conversations with the carrier reps when they come in and say, hey, look at all these billing issues we have across all of our clients. What's going on with your billing system, right? We can also analyze the data and say, hey, this is how much money we're receiving, right? In commissions, our expected commissions, we have to report on that. And we can aggregate that information into Benelinx. And here's how much time we've been spending monthly or, every 6 months, quarterly, or biannually with your account. And here's the net result. We're actually losing money, right? We're spending more money than we're making off of certain clients. And that's how we have to try to right that ship. So much power in being able to take that information once it's created, analyze it, report on it, make it visible for us, our account managers, etc. Lastly, next Tuesday, same time, same place, we're going to talk about reports and dashboards. So I'm going to touch on it a little bit. I'm going to bait you a little bit for next week on all the different things we can do with reports and dashboards. And we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg. It's all this information that we're building into one place. Some of that value is sharing information, right? Passing it through, but there's a lot of value in aggregating it, understanding it, and using those analytics to make good business decisions, sometimes tough business decisions, right? The visibility. It's not just about the numbers, the money. It's also about time. Time is money, right? It's about process, being able to see where we're at with our process, etc. So enough said about that for now. And then, of course. Okay, let's jump in. I'm going to make it relatively quick here. I want to make sure we talk about all items here. So I'm just going to grab my notes. Okay, so let's start with tasks. Give you a visual of where tasks live. Okay, so again, tasks is Salesforce standard feature. It lives anywhere in the system. And hopefully my computer will cooperate, or I will be talking more than showing today. Okay, so this is an example. This is our account. But as I'd mentioned, this is our activity center. So everywhere on the right, in most areas of the Benelinx system, the way we have your page layouts designed, you have this activity area. And as I'd mentioned, tasks are one part of the full, kind of menu of options within the activity area in Salesforce. So you can see here, we can log a call or an email. So I can push those emails in from my Outlook or our Gmail. I can log a call. And here's where our tasks live, right? This is a new task I can create, I can see, and I can manage the tasks as well as events, which are kind of our calendar events. So Underneath activity, anywhere in the system, I can create a brand new task here, and I can see and track those task records anywhere in the system. Okay. So if I create a new task, the basic functions, like I said, we're going to set our due date, priority. I can relate it to, I'm inside of my record here, so it's going to relate it to the record I'm in, and the assignment, the ownership. I can assign it to myself, and right out of the chute, I could also just assign it to somebody else. Maybe it came in and I've got a request and a reminder I want to go directly to Ian. Okay. So anywhere in the system, we're going to have the ability to create tasks. The benefit is it's going to be related to any record within the system that might be relevant. Maybe the life and AD&D, I need to create a task to remember to follow up on a particular concern or question related to that. And you can see now it's related not to my account, but it's related to this record. So all throughout the system, I can create those tasks. Where do I see all this tasks? People panic a little bit when oh my gosh, I can build it everywhere. So how do I find them, right? When do they due? And so just like any other object or feature in Salesforce, we can add tasks to our navigation bar. We do not standardly have tasks part of our Benelinx navigation bar, okay? We give you the opportunity to add them as you need to. We don't add it because it's a lot of tabs when we go through training. You can go to your pencil here on the top right and add it if you don't have it already there. So once you add it, then we can go to our tasks. And this is where then we can see all those in one place. Really important, right? So we can see, here's my open tasks. Here's what it's related to. Here's the due date, the status. Just like anywhere else in Salesforce, I can create list view. Some of them are already provided for me. I can build my own, which I'm going to want to, right? One thing to be careful of within Salesforce is that by default, when you first start in the system using tasks, most of the list views are set to filter only to show mine, the ones I created. I can change that to all. So questions that come in for tasks, can I look at everybody's tasks? Well, you sure can. You just have to change the filter, right? But by default, they're set to just show mine. Mine meaning I own them. If I transfer a task to Ian, it's no longer going to show up on my list, right? My filtered list. So I have to open it up and show all. Okay. So just like anywhere else, we can build list views. We can track and manage. We can see overdue, etc. So this is a great place for us to be able to start looking at, gee, what are my open tasks? What do I have to get done this week, next month? Couple of the other kind of automations that I want to highlight is when I go in and create a new task, I can set my reminders, right? So I set a due date, but I can set a separate reminder date if I would like. And I can also create a reoccurring task. This is, again, what I'd mentioned, part of the Salesforce standard automation. We don't have control over this. It is what it is. And when I create the initial record is the only time I can set this reoccurring task. So if I have something that comes up and every week I need to set it on Tuesday, and we have a start and end date, I could use, every other week or custom. So I can set a lot of different variables here when I set those reoccurring tasks. So great to have when we're going through and saying, hey, yeah, every month I have to set, I have to go in and create a new task. Well, why don't I just set up a reoccurring series of tasks so that I can decide specific or relative dates? Specific date is the third day of every month. Relative date, right, is the first Monday or the first Tuesday. So we can set it up just like we're probably more used to than we used to be with Zoom and Teams and all the other meetings that we're scheduling reoccurring. Okay. At our subject due date, we can relate it to, again, I can decide where I want to, what record I want to relate it to, any of the objects within the Salesforce system, and my assignment. I can assign it to myself now. I can reassign it later once I create the record. Okay. Pretty simple creating them. Managing them should be managed just like any other object and records within. I can see them all under my tasks, under my navigation bar when I set that up. One thing that came up just yesterday, how do I delete reoccurring tasks? I have to open the record and then I can go in and I can delete the series. I cannot edit from the list view. I have to open up the record, and then I can go, and now that button is visible where I can delete the entire series. So if I've created reoccurring, for the next 3 years, and oops, I made a mistake or that changed, I can go in and delete it, but I can also edit the series as well. If you don't have those reoccurring that you already know that you want to schedule, we can easily and quickly create a follow-up task. So, oh, this didn't get resolved. I need to create a follow-up task for myself one more time, right? We can do that with create the follow-up task option. Okay, so here's how I look at tasks, and then we'll jump into actions. Again, tasks are automatically given to us from Salesforce as part of the CRM capabilities, and it's my to-dos. I personally recommend using tasks as my to-dos for myself as a user. Okay, so when we look at all the different things that Benelinx gives us, we have, our record keeping, our client, we're tracking our policies and services. We may be doing quoting. We also have now workflows, right? We're going to be following through on our workflows, our renewal automation, our onboarding of our clients. These are guides for us to be able to make sure we've crossed our T's and dotted our I's, make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay. What I recommend and how I recommend using tasks is supplemental to the record creation and documentation. Okay. When I'm getting a use case for using a task would be, I'm in the middle of this renewal. I'm making sure I get everything taken care of. I've documented the times and dates. It helps me know what's next. And guess what? I need to remind myself to make sure I don't forget to audit that bill before I get to the next section. I'm going to create a task for that. Okay. The task is what I need to remind myself to keep moving through the guide, right? Our workflow. Okay. That's how I recommend using tasks. Some users may put in every single little thing that they have to do during the day. Get up, go grab some coffee, turn on your computer, right? Some people are just really meticulous and detail oriented where they want to have every little thing that they do in the system, and they create a task for that, right? Follow up, do this, do that, follow up here, make sure I've done that, check here, double check there, right? We can do that. Those are for me as a user. So if I'm that person, I may create 5, 10, 15 tasks a day, right? It's everything I do. I also may, if I'm not that, which I'm not, I'm more of a big picture person, I may have one task because that's a really important one I have to remember to follow up next Tuesday. So to me, a task is personal, and the variability of when you create tasks is all dependent on how much I want to use a system to remind me to make sure I get through the workflow. The workflow is priority. Creating the actions is priority. The record keeping, okay? And the task is going to supplement that. It's going to help remind me, and I may have to have one task here. I may have to have 5 before I can get this sucker closed, right? And so the task can be variable. They're dependent on how much you want to use the system and how you want to set those reminders. So record creation is primary, in my opinion. Tasks supplement that, making sure I get from A to Z, right? At the end of the day, we want to get through our renewals. At the end of the day, I want to get this dental billing issue closed, right? That's my record. And I may have one task to help me get there, and I may have 10, right? But I can add as many tasks as I need to. So I consider tasks voluntary, very useful, but it's all dependent on the user, right? I may be putting a lot of tasks in while the next person may be putting a few. Because the goal is get to, A to Z. Close the record is the goal. So moving on to the actions. So here's again, part of the standard Salesforce. Our actions object is in our navigation bar. Just like we can manually create tasks, we can manually create actions. Here is one of the key differentiators between Benelinx and every other system out there. As I mentioned, other agency management systems, their equivalent to our action is called activities. Okay. The big difference between how you were managing your customer service requests before in a different system than ours is this first step. So the brilliancy of what we did is we organized your life for you, right? And why is this so critically important? These categories are going to allow us to aggregate that data. Okay. If I have an open text field and I create an activity, and I call it open enrollment, the next person calls it new hire enrollment. The next person calls it enrollment. The next person misspells enrollment, right? Guess what? Can't aggregate that anymore. So now the first step when we create an action is we're going to decide what bucket it goes into. What category does it go into? All of this is customizable. Like I said, if we have clients, high volume of customer service requests. Some of our clients are like, hey, we get so many temporary ID card requests. Great. We'll add it as a category, right? So maybe some clients are like, we don't do enrollments and terms. Fine. We get rid of it, right? We want whatever your high volume requests coming in and set that category. Now think how simple it is to aggregate. So the brilliancy of this is we did that first and we did that right. So you set the category and then you move on to create the record. This is the manual process. And again, you can see super simple. I'm going to make a name. Now this is where I'm going to type something in, you know, Bob's claim for the orthodontist, right? I'm going to attach it to my account. I can put in the basics if I would like. I've got a status here and I hit save. Here's the record. I can change that ownership. One thing about changing owners in Salesforce, little tip and trick. If I'm in the record, I can't change ownership. See, it's locking me out. I close the record. Now I can change ownership. Why they did that? I have no idea. Now I can change it to Ian and I can initiate that email to be sent to him. He is now the owner of this record instead of me. Okay. Just like on tasks, then I can also go in and I can organize my actions, my tasks. I can see them broken out by record type, right? I can make a Kanban view, which I love. And now I can see here's all my billing and here's where I'm at. I can move them through. When I close them, they drop off the list. Woo. Okay. Here's so the key differentiators, we'll talk about automation in a minute, right? I have a record. This is my action. This is the request that came in. Guess what? I can attach a task to it. So the idea here is that I've got a dental billing issue. I may not be able to close this today. I'm waiting on a response from the client. I may have to create a task related to my action. See, benefit of having not this a task, I can actually have a record and then attach a task to it. This is my reminder. Oh, follow up next Tuesday. Make sure you heard from MetLife. So I can create a task, attach it to my action. I can also log a call. I can create an event, but I can also send an email directly from Benelinx, Salesforce, or I can push the email in. So what I usually explain to folks is email comes in, right? There's a dental bill, okay? I create the record. I just showed you how to do that. I can push the email directly into this record. So I don't put a lot of documentation here because if there's a copy of the email here, everything that the client wants me to do is in the email. I don't have to retype what they're asking for. Push the email in. There it is. Anybody wants to know? Here's the email directly from the client. This is what they're asking for, right? That copy of the email now lives in that record, which is very specific about the dental bill related to Bob's Bakery. Can't do that with tasks. Can't push an email to tasks, right? So, and I can create a task here and I can relate it too. So if I have to follow up later, create a task, log an email, and everything and all the correspondence and tasks, any of the activities according to Salesforce, right, live over here in my activity center. The idea is I'm basically organizing every single thing that the client asked me about relating to this dental bill in one place. It's related to Bob's Bakery, but everything about the dental bill, the tasks, the email, maybe I have notes and files, right? Drag and drop stuff, add notes. And when I close it, and if it comes back to haunt me later, that dental bill just didn't get fixed, guess what? I can search the system. I can find that record, if my computer works, down here, and everything about that correspondence and everything about that request is now living in one place. People ask me all the time, how do I organize files in Salesforce? You can't. What you can do is you can organize records. Super organized, right? This is how we do it. I create a record that's related to Bob's Bakery. Everything now about that lives here. All my emails, all my files, my notes, everything about that is here. So if I'm out of town, right? We talk about this a lot as well. And I'm sitting on the beach and the dental bill isn't fixed, what do we normally do? You get a phone call, you go run up to back up to the hotel room, you got to dig through your Outlook and find it and forward somebody. Guess what? Actions are visible to others as well. So even though Ian owns this, he's on vacation, I can go in, I can find this record, I can see the emails that were sent back and forth from him to the client, I can see the notes and files, I can pick up right where he left off, right? That's the benefit. We're creating a record related to our account. Where does it live on the account? Here. So we've got it nicely organized for you. Over here by our activities, we've got all of our actions. Here's the open ones. Boy, Bob's Bakery, you got a problem. Closed ones, right? So as they close, we're archiving them. Okay, but anybody can go in and see the volume, what's going on. Okay, so automation around the new ticketing system. We have a test we're going to attempt to work and see if we can get it to show and tell. So we set our system up, our testing here, to VIP at Benelinx. So you want to send an email.
Yep.
Over, and then what we'll do is I'll show you. So it creates the record. We'll show you what that email looks like, and the notification. So if we connect the dots, takes the record keeping out of your hands, right? That's all it does. I'm still going to get notified. If I'm the account manager, I still have to contact them, follow up, but it takes that record creation. And that increases our reliability, right, of having these requests documented for our stewardship reports. I'll show you here in a minute, hopefully. Running out of time. I'm talking a lot today.
It is. It is there now.
Is it this one?
Yep.
Okay. So Ian's pretending to be a customer. He sends a what is it? ID card request, right? To the VIP email address. And you can see automatically created the record. There is that, what's the name of it, Ian?
Predictive assignment. Is that what you're thinking?
Predictive assignment. So over time, it'll actually attach to the account based on learning where this email is coming from and who it's attached to. But you can see the body of the email goes here, the subject of the email, who it's from. This was really important because we don't always have our contacts in the system. And we have clients where they're sending emails from their personal emails. And so we need to know who it's coming from. And then we can change we can go in and update, right? So it's gonna create the record. I can attach it. I can change ownership assignment if I need to. So a lot of times our clients will have somebody that is regulating it, right? So they can say, oh, okay, I'll manage the accounts or the actions. I'll get the notification and I'll reassign it to the folks that we need to. The predictive assignment will help with that. Over time, it learns, oh, if I keep getting the same emails from this email address, oh, it's attached to Bob's Bakery, and then we can auto assign it to the account manager. Okay. So that's the automation. Creates the record for us. Do we have the email of what the ticket request comes from? So creates the record, sends an email back to the client saying, thank you for reaching out. Here's your action number, and then internally sends it to the account owner. Do you have the sample of those emails?
Yeah, let me get my right inbox open. So that's
while he's doing that, I'm going to show you the reason we do all this, right? This is the laser light show. This is the benefit, right? This is our stewardship report. If we automate it, if we track it, if we record it, right? That helps us know what's going on. Then we can also, this is where we can actually set up. We've already created this template for our clients and we can define it by client. So you can see I've got 2 samples here. This is currently showing this clients. Within the last 6 months, they had 22 requests. 7 of them have been closed. And of those 22, where are we at with the status? So these are open, we're waiting, escalated, etc. This is so powerful, right? Within a certain period of time, we can see what's going on with any particular client. We can track it by account manager. we can see we have now, and I'll show you next week in our reports and dashboards where we can track it by time. So we can see how much time has been allocated for each of these clients and then roll it up against our expected commission. So our expected revenue. So we can start looking at that ROI, right? What is our profitability if we have any? But this report is also in turn available to send out to clients. So I can go here and I can save as, or I can download this report and then ad hoc, right? Ad hoc meaning as requested, I can download this and send this off to the client. Okay. We as an agency or an industry do not do a very good job of being proactive about our customer service, right? We're reactive. Everybody is. I'm not judging. It is the way we are, right? A, we don't have the record keeping. Now we do. We can in Benelinx if we do it right. And B, we're only giving our clients stewardship reports when they ask. And usually it's because the new CFO has a buddy over at Lockton. And he's like, what have you done for us lately? And you're like, I just did a lot for you lately. I just finished your renewal, right? And you're in jeopardy of losing the client. And so we're reactive. So then we scramble and put together all the different emails from, everybody we can think of to try to put in an aggregated report. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice not to be in that position, right? Reactive. Okay. Versus, hey, part of our renewal process, we're going to show you this. This is our customer service intake for the year or 6 months, right? Here's how much we've been doing for you outside of the renewal. We understand that we're processing the renewal and we're giving you recommendations on what products to choose for the next year. However, this is how much work we're also doing the other 9 months. We can lean into it, right? We can be proactive by saying to the client before they ask, what have we done for you lately? Well, let me show you. Let me show you what we've done. Oh, by the way, we're also losing money on you. For some of those small ones, may have to have a little hard conversation. So anyway, so this is the benefit, right? And this is so cool because Salesforce recently gave us the ability to filter this entire dashboard by client. Like Bob's Bakery is a bigger client. They have a heck of a lot more service requests coming in. And now every single one of these reports adjusted simply by, going in and filtering it by a different client name. Got it all set up for you. We've got it all set up for you. You just have to use it. You have to create the record. How do we create the record? We automate it, right? So that was the biggest deterrent for people using this part of the Benelinx system. Everybody loved it, but nobody used it. Oh, it's just one email. I'll just reply over here in my Outlook. Then it's just another one, and then it's just another one, right? And pretty soon, we don't have any actions created. So powerful, right? This is where we start, moving into next week's training, which is reports and dashboards. Why are we doing all this, right? One of it's to, warehouse, be able to give reliable information, process, move things through to our employee navigator ease, right? Create booklets. But some of it is that visibility. We need to see what's going on. Sometimes we're surprised how much work we're doing, and we're really not as good at anecdotally knowing. But when we can see and touch and feel it, now we can make really good decisions. We can get more proactive. We can have those conversations, good or bad. Hey guys, look at this. Look at all the stuff we're doing for you. Or guess what? We've been doing a lot and we're really kind of losing money here. We can have those tough conversations with the carriers, right? If we have a billing issue, we see tremendous amount of, billing issues coming in, and we can aggregate that across clients, isolate it by the carrier. Now we can see what's going on. We can have those conversations with real numbers. Do you have a sample of the emails?
Yeah. If you want me to hop up and I can share my screen real quick if you would like.
Jessica, can he share his screen?
Should be able to.
Yes. To me. Go ahead. Let's just show the emails real quick.
Yeah. I have all three kind of set up and ready to go. So the first one that we're looking at is what your client would receive when they send in that email to you or to that support support inbox. They will receive a notification that looks, this is the default standard one. This is one of those responses that Rachel said could be customized. Add in your language, maybe a signature line to it, things of that nature, with some additional contact information that can be added. It is one template, so it can't be differentiated depending on who those actions are assigned to, but we can obviously update that. Pretty basic for you.
You're submitting, here's your number.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you. And that's just an email template lives within Salesforce. So it can be adjusted at any time.
Yeah.
So it's very specific to what you want your message to be for you from your agency.
Yep. And in the same line, on the internal side, this is a sample of what that email would look like to your internal users, to your employees who would be receiving that notification. Hey, a new support request came in. It's been received and logged as action. And then with a link to the action, they can click directly into it and it'll open up that action record within Salesforce. Lastly, just as a quick one to show you, if you do transfer that ownership to someone else, this is the notification that they would receive. So they'll get just a notice action transferred to you. Same idea. The action has been assigned. Click here to view the record, and it's a link directly into that action record. Then you can then go in and start to update, take whatever necessary follow-up steps that you need to do for them.
Well, thank you.
Yep.
So all of those can be customized. Salesforce has email templates. We just built that into the template email area of the system. So all very transparent. Can you see my screen, the correct one? Yeah, okay. So again, tasks and actions seem very similar until you start to understand how different they really are. Actions are creating the record related to our client specific to a customer service request that we've defined in categories. I can create a task related to my action to help get it closed and remind me to follow up. Tasks can be built, can created everywhere in the system. This is an example of our dashboard on our homepage. I want to show this as well related to our reports and dashboards. So people ask, wow, there's so much going on in Benelinx. How do I see everything, right? How do I see everything in one place, right? That's what a dashboard is for. It's showing me open items, right? Kind of throughout the system between our workflows and our upcoming renewals and our tasks and our actions. Oh my gosh, right? So this is an example of where we can see everything at once, right? And we have versions of this for account managers, right? And it all can be built out because we have a whole dashboard, feature, but this is an example of our home. The idea here is for us to be able to see at the highest level, right? Here's our reports that are coming in. Here's what our upcoming renewals, like this is our pipeline. We'll get into that more later in later trainings. Also, here's our renewals. This is a really important feature, right? We need to know what renewals are coming up and where we're at with processing, starting to process our renewals. And as a manager, I can see those renewals being processed and see, okay, yeah, January should be getting closer to done. February, we're just starting. And yeah, December should be dropping off altogether, right? And these reports, as the records get updated, these reports then are going to move through those records for us. Here's where our actions live, right? It gets more granular as we go down the page. We can move things up. But here's the idea. We want to see from an agency perspective what's open still, right? And what type of records are open. Again, we can slice and dice it by account manager, depends on the size of your agency. And we want to see totals. Right now, we still have 74 records open. How do we move that and get those moved through the system, based on type? We can also look at it by client if we need to. And even on our homepage, we also have our tasks. So when I think of I go into Benelinx every day. First thing I'm going to do is open it up. Last thing I'm going to do is close it down, right? Where do I start? Tasks are my to-dos, right? This is where if I build the tasks and I want to see what those tasks are, these are all the things I need to make sure I do today or tomorrow, right? Overall, then these are the records I need to get closed. These are the service requests. Some folks and some agencies split this off. It may not be the same person doing all those. And then account managers are processing their renewals, right? So I can see where we're at overall. And then kind of where we're heading. What's our pipeline? What's coming up? High volume months. We want to know what's coming up in our pipeline. But I want to share this because we can bring everything together. We can see our tasks, just like I want to be able to see what I'm doing. I can also see that, overarching requests that are coming in, what's still open. We have the closed ones archived. We don't need them here. We don't need to see which ones are closed, and potentially the renewals that I'm working on. And again, we can simply just filter this by the ownership. Right now, the homepage is showing the agency wide, so the owners and managers can see what's still open. what do we need to start moving through? What can I help support? Where are we at with internally moving things through to get those closed? So that's the visibility. And our homepage, this is just a dashboard, right? So we have the ability to go into our dashboard, see what our homepage looks like and edit it, be able to see our stewardship reports and edit those, but also create like account manager dashboard. This is just our recently viewed. Any questions that have come in? Actions versus tasks. No questions?
We had one related to the outbound messages, whether or not it can come directly from a one of their actual internal email addresses versus the Salesforce masqueraded address. And with how the system works, we have to use that masqueraded address. But we do have some steps we can take within Salesforce to improve that deliverability to make it so those outbound messages aren't necessarily being caught by those spam filters, with some security settings that we can update. We'd have to work with you and your IT team or your email provider to do that, but it's certainly something that is available. So if you have questions about it, support@benelinx.com. We'll be happy to help.
Yeah, and there's probably some more new features coming up, but I don't want to overpromise. With some of the capabilities that may be available to enhance the experience in 2025. So I had mentioned the Outlook integration, right? This is our test example. This is the Outlook integration. All of these features work together, right? Once you start understanding the bigger picture, you understand the value of having all these features and why, right? This is my Outlook. I've already got it set up. This is where I get an email from a client. I can actually go in if I want to manually create those action records. It's the little pink whistle, I think, is the icon. So maybe this particular email is related to a billing issue. I can literally go in and create the record right here. I don't have to go into Benelinx to do that. MetLife, right? Type. And then I attach it to my client. So super easy, like 3-step process, right? So if I'm not using the automation, I can still create the record here. And now I can go in and I can decide where I want to log the email, right? So if I go in, I can go in now. I'm going to grab that dental. What did I call it? Met dental bill. Search for it, create the record. I can find the record here. Slow, slow, slow. Again, not normally this slow, it's just my computer. And here's my record. And now I can actually log this call. It's saying yes. So again, 3-step process. I can actually create the action right here. I can log the email. And now I even have the ability to create my task, my follow-up, right? Don't forget, Rachel, you need to do this on this day. Make sure that bill is fixed next Tuesday or issued, right? Whatever the reminder is, I can do all 3 of those things. Create the action, push the email into the action, create a follow-up task. And I can even manage all my tasks here, right? There's 2 tabs here. We talked about that in the earlier training. And now I can see, I want to see my overdue tasks. I gotta get caught up, I'm behind, right? So I can actually manage all my tasks. This is just a list view of my tasks. And I can create new tasks right here as well. So whether I'm creating tasks, which are my personal reminders, or records, which are my actions, customer service requests, I can do it all here from my Outlook as well. It creates the records in the system. I can go in and then update the status and manage them. That's the last thing I want to mention. I know we're out of time. And I always forget to mention this. People are like, I have to go back into Benelinx then to update the record. Here's my action I just created. Maybe I actually open and close it all in the same process. I can actually open the record right inside my Outlook and I can update that, close it, boom, done. Maybe I want to reassign it. to Ian because I just want him to do all my work for me. I can do that. So just don't forget, we can actually edit records too. We can create them, push emails into them, create tasks, but we can also go in and edit the records right from here because I'm really busy and I'm always going to keep my email system, whether it be Outlook or Gmail. Okay. I think I hit on everything. So very excited about next week, reports and dashboards. Again, this is a perfect segue moving into that. Everything that we're doing in the system, right? We can roll that up and we can start looking at it, give us the visibility that we need to see, understand where we're moving, see trends over time, help us make decisions. So thank you guys. Appreciate your time and we'll see you next week.